Monarchy.
Oh,
They were dancing today.
Well, Harry had it over, but I don't think Megan.
well,
I
you
haven't
know,
heard about Megan.
I was gonna go,
Yeah.
and and then I just. Okay, well, there it is.
That's it, yeah.
So we might as well do the minutes. Does anybody have minute issues? No, nobody? All right, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes as written. Is there a second? Tim, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? What? Okay, so we had originally targeted the first meeting in October to finish this. So maybe we can do it. So let's go through Vicky's, thank you for your rewrite.
Yep.
I have a few questions, and if other people have questions, let's start off in that first paragraph. Where you have the roof mounted solar energy system, a solar energy system that is attached to the roof of the building. It's kind of weird because it's sort of a different definition, but it's combined with that first one. Is that what you intended?
No,
Okay, so is that, how is that supposed to go?
She added,
You
it's
see.
not a separate structure.
You need a paragraph break before
Yeah.
it's mounted.
Okay, so just a paragraph break.
well, I
there.
think roof mounted needs to go after all these other ones because we're talking about generally solar energy systems and then. I
So-
guess if it's alphabetical, roof mounted goes first.
Well, is it roof? It's not, because fixed is D. So do you want to make it as an E?
No,
No,
Just, so where do you put it?
well, actually, you could do it as I think. I would put it as C maybe, and then put. Yeah, I put it as C.
C and then make the
Make
others
everyone's-
D and
yeah,
E?
Yep,
Is that okay with everybody?
wait, I
else?
don't understand.
Are you
Yeah, where
assigning
are you?
letters to these paragraphs? The
It's
definitions?
in this thing.
First page, I sent it to you this afternoon.
G, solar energy system definitions.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does not have any letters.
This is-
Not, that's not the one.
Yeah,
I sent you.
mine was-
Well, mine has like little A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't have that copy version then.
Okay, let me, fix that
Sorry.
for you.
No
I
problem.
just, I don't think my printer sucked them out.
I don't have it. I don't have it either.
Well, it can't, then
Okay.
it went out today,
there's a date, 8/25/22
8/25/22.
is the top of it.
yeah.
Is that what yours has, Hebe? Okay, so you got-
Okay, so
I printed the
Tim
last one I
Tim
got.
Yes,
needs
it
one.
does, it does. 8/25/22, add to 4.42.
Yeah,
right, okay, so somebody else didn't have the letters on theirs last time. Do you have
that
a
was
Mac?
me.
I wondered if it
Yeah,
was just,
Yeah,
I have a
I do
Mac.
have a map.
I do too, so I don't.
I do too.
But I printed the last one that came.
So this is all one.
no, there was one today. Did you print it?
The one from Vicky, yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So let me see.
yes.
And you don't have, that's really weird.
It's really weird.
Isn't that dear? I just printed
Isn't
this. an hour
Okay, so
ago.
you know what? I mean, basically, well, he's getting in another one, but it's basically, it is
Rich
letters.
showed you his. Mine
A, B,
has,
C, and
mine
D.
has letters on. it. Isn't that dear?
Yeah, mine doesn't.
The computer got a flat.
I think it's just operating systems
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
Yeah.
versions of Word or.
but
something
anyway,
like
so
that.
you want to make that C.
Yeah, move it to C and then.
Mhm, we'll move it to C.
and
Well, you
then-
feel like you're being gaslit, you know?
Oh, okay, there we go.
What the heck?
Yeah, what's the matter, Hebe? You don't see the letters?
Okay, now I got you.
So
So,
A becomes C.
Oh, I see.
No, it didn't have
And I had
a letter.
separated.
Just
It's
move
this,
the roof
it's
mounted
this
down.
part.
Track changes, so
Um,
that makes better sense.
Where's the roof? Let me see. Yeah, so this
That
becomes, oh, shit. I mean, oh,
That
shoot.
one will become D. This one will
It goes
become
down to
D.
C.
and that goes, okay. So
And this becomes.
But David's getting you a. your own
Yeah, that
copy.
is strange, but I just printed it.
Oh, these are, you know, in life, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but a lot of unexpected things happen.
No.
So I'm kind of curious though, this is supposed to go into
Zoning ordinance.
the zoning ordinance 4.42,
Excuse me.
Well,
right
No,
after
no,
the
just-
single attached accessory dwelling unit, right?
All it's gonna say is D, solar energy system, see Article 14. That's the only part that's going to 4.42.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyone else need?
signals, yeah.
So, yeah, so,
And
and then the definitions goes to the definition.
Then this is going to go into the beginning in the definitions
Yes.
pages. Oh, okay.
Okay, so, yeah, so is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
so the D, the 4.42 D is just a reference so that when people go there as a, for an accessory use. they-
Okay,
they get
gotcha.
redirected. All right, so what Vicky was saying is the roof mounted solar energy system would move to C. And the current C and D would move to D and E.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else have issues?
And so this is all just one underlying thing in the definitions.
Yes.
It's gonna say solar energy system, and then it's gonna have all of this. Okay,
Right,
now I'm beginning to. understand.
yeah, and this will all be in the definitions, everything from this page.
Yeah.
And then we move to the second page.
Okay.
And there are just a couple of typos.
Yeah.
You got them? Somebody else can,
I only saw one.
okay,
Well, 1410 E,
yeah,
locate,
locate,
Oh,
and then the
Town.
Right.
town of Lyme, yeah.
Right.
And maybe that we want to figure out with SESs with that little s, are we? Did we decide we're
yeah,
keeping
how
that
did we
like
end
that,
up,
or?
we ended up going back to SESs? Did we do that? I thought we.
I
Right,
took
yeah.
out the little S's.
Yeah, I thought so.
So we just keep them all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna take out all the SESs and spell it out every time.
No,
Right.
no, leave just
No, take the
SES
little S off.
Oh, okay,
at the end.
all right. Sorry.
okay.
I'll do that.
It's an irrevocable.
Yeah.
Irrevocable horror.
I think I must have missed that.
That was the best part. All right, so we're going to just SES,
Mhm.
and we got the locate in the town, and then 14.3.
1423.
No, 14.3, sorry, yeah,
1403, okay.
0.3.
Yep.
And I'm not sure about this, but large solar energy systems may be primary or accessory uses on a lot and shall require a condition.
Correct, yep.
Okay. And then on just a technicality,
So that, I thought that was kind of odd, though. Shall meet the following conditions,
where are we?
1430,
Okay,
and the condition is that it's not permitted.
oh, I see. Oh, going from but that's 14.2.
No,
So
it's-
that doesn't reference 14.3. That's a
no, it's
new,
right
No.
under 14.
Very bottom of the page.
oh, and meet
I.
the following conditions. Right, you're right. Yeah.
It
that
seems
is-
like we should have some conditions that it has to meet,
Right,
and then
Just
we
say do
somewhere,
not require. You could just change that from a positive.
right. It should probably be and shall Yeah, so what, how do we phrase that?
Large energy systems shall not require upgraded utilities in the designated scenic road.
No, I don't think that's what we're trying to say, is it? So I think the main thing is to what Rich is saying is
We haven't,
these following conditions, these aren't conditions that need to be met. We could say larger, maybe primary accessory uses a lot, require a conditional use permit. And something else, and the following,
Well, you could say large energy systems on a scenic road. Do not permit.
You say large energy systems on a scenic road are not permitted if required to upgrade the utilities.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
it's the
that I-
same
yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
The, maybe what we should do is take the next point as a point on the next page, and say it meets the following conditions, and instead of 14.40, make that lowercase, Roman I, solar energy systems.
I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to bring it out that you don't get one that's 20,000 square feet or greater than 20,000 square feet, just as a,
So
Standalone.
what if we just say large solar energy systems may be primary or accessory uses on a lot and shall require a conditional use permit,
period.
period.
Mhm.
And then just have these
Yeah.
things below
as 430 or 4,
as 430.
well, why don't we make it 431, 1430?
Oh, because of,
One.
then there's 40.
Yeah, because 40 is just like anything above isn't really.
Well, what if we just had 1430
Mhm.
and had 1, 2, and what is the third one? And just made it 1, 2, and 3 and took out 40 and 50.
Well, 50, I think you want to keep because you're now talking about the requirements for conditional use.
Oh, right,
permit,
right, I'm
not-
sorry, yeah, so what if we
So there's
just
only
took out,
two,
what if we
only
took
two.
out 40 and put,
That was Rich's
Two.
point.
Make it
Yeah.
two.
That
make
was
it 2?
Rich's point.
Okay, good point, Rich.
Well, no, it's Rich Brown, I think.
A good point.
Right, the other Rich.
What,
Yeah.
whichever,
Yeah.
Rich. good
What was
point.
your bright idea?
No, but just- but
So the thought was, list the 20,000 foot limit first,
Uh-huh,
and then say, not on scenic roads.
uh-huh.
And that way, at least we have one, I mean, to your point, Rich.
Yeah.
At least we say one thing, that
But we're-
condition it must meet.
We're taking out meet the following conditions.
Right.
So that,
Okay, all
We
right.
should put it back in if we have 2 then.
but neither,
If they don't meet.
but they're not
Oh, right, I
conditions.
see,
they're not
well.
But there's a 1 and 2 anyway. Large solar energy may.
Just take out. the-
Well, maybe
meet
we
the following
make
conditions,
them,
it
maybe we make them part of the conditional use permit. So one thing, they can't be, on a location of, and then put the other one, can't be greater than 20,000 square feet.
So then that,
So just drop them down under the new
Yep.
1440.
Yep.
all right, so you want to move those to,
Yeah, as conditions,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
1430 will just be that one sentence with
right.
no conditions.
Yep,
Okay, so this goes to where?
and these other 2 drop down.
14.5,
Yeah, but that's now 1440.
14.4, and is that a 1, a 2, and a 3?
It's at least a 2. I don't think it's
No,
a
it's a
3.
one and a two.
Yeah, it's a,
Well, what about this only large energy? Because that's not connected.
yeah,
to
that's
that.
just the
Okay,
introductory thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. To 440.
So, and I wonder if those should be a little a, I don't know, the lettering and all that.
How do you decide when it's a lowercase a or uppercase?
I think
a and a little
yeah,
I?
because A is something separate and B is something separate, whereas the little i's are all conditional, they all go together. I don't
And I
know.
wouldn't use eyes because if you look at the rest of the zoning ordinance, you don't find that
Is it ABCs and the rest?
it's ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
Yeah, there are no Romans in here at all,
Right.
which is actually the
So
convention.
are we saying on the 14.20 that we're doing A, B, and C?
Little a, little b.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because we don't have any Romans. They somehow removed that as a convention in New Hampshire. And so I'm keeping up with you in terms of changes.
Okay.
I've got a real time.
Uppercase ABC, what does that? mean?
You know, I don't know.
Lowercase.
Do we?
Well, I was trying to, I was looking at the affordable housing one, which I
Yeah.
think, it's kind of modeling it after
Right.
that, or one of them had, or some other thing had the A, B, and C with the capitals. And I'm happy to change it down, but like
Take a
special
look at page
exceptions.
38, 39. A good example of how it's used all over the place and there's no rhyme, no reason
There
to.
is no rhyme or
Yeah,
reason.
and here's setbacks, look at that.
Right.
And the special, and lot size.
Yeah,
we go to A, B,
it's-
and C, so I don't know.
I don't think it matters. really.
I think over the years, different boards have
Different boards
used
have
different
used different
things and inserted.
So let's keep it consistent, at
consistent.
least on this
So
one.
little a.
So little A's,
Okay,
B's,
okay,
C's
okay,
everywhere.
got it, got it.
Okay?
Okay, yep.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah,
So 4.1, we're gonna do small.
Yes,
Yeah.
small a.
Okay.
Okay,
Something
and
about a foolish consistency.
if you have
Yeah,
a
well-
computer, it does it automatically.
It's true, it's true.
Very slick.
Although I'm gonna be a stickler here and say, if we look at,
All we have to do is go back a couple more pages and
Yeah.
you've
See
got
something totally
capital.
different.
letters.
looking
know.
on page 37, 36 and 37, the beginning of Article 5, there's 5.11 lot size, and it's got upper A, B, C, D.
Yeah, it's
And then
it's
1, 2,
different all over the
3.
place.
Yeah, that's why I pointed out
I
that
think
page.
the
'cause it
only
is-
thing we need to do is make it consistent within this article, because we can't rewrite the whole.
Sure you can.
Well, no, it's
No,
not
thank you.
rewriting, it's renumbering.
We're
And then
not
you
gonna do
need to, which is a Scrivener's thing, but then you have to make sure that references are
Yeah,
all
yeah.
consistent.
Right.
So it's just, it opens a different,
All right, so we got this so that it's gonna be all letters.
You know, the uppercase or lowercase?
lower.
Lower for this. No rhyme or reason, but just consistency.
1410 is uppercase, that's all. I'm just
No, we
Well,
changed it.
Changing it to lower.
changing that to,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
all right, good.
All right, so are we done with this section?
Well, no, because we were
Okay.
gonna all come up with conditional use.
Yeah, no,
permit.
I mean, this section before the conditional use.
Yeah,
All
We're
right,
gonna keep 14.5, right?
well, it turns into 14.
that becomes 14.4.
Yeah, but then where do we have requirements for conditional use?
That's next. 'Cause-
So that'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
14.4.
so that is 14.4. Okay,
Okay, got it.
all right. So are you gonna send the corrections in?
I have them, yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing real time. for
Okay.
David.
All right, so whoever wants to do this, go ahead. I mean, start on your conditional use stuff. Who wants to go first? Don't all jump in at once.
My mother died on Monday,
Oh,
and so I
gosh, I'm
really
so
didn't have
sorry.
time,
Is
so
that
I can only
seven?
pull out that excuse once in my life, so. yeah.
Was that 7? Or were you
She-
expecting?
She took to bed 8 days earlier, so it was expected at some point, not really.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Vicky.
well, so I,
We all met your mother during the COVID peak because she was there in the meeting with you.
right,
Yeah. She was outside of Philadelphia.
no, she moved, she was in Lebanon, It's very convenient for me,
Yeah.
and she moved up during COVID.
How old was she?
89. Yep, so I did this on one
Well,
of my
thank you,
watches.
thank you for
and-
doing it.
And I didn't go any further. 'cause I didn't
Yeah, yeah.
total-
Sure. All right. Somebody else have anything to say? All right, go ahead.
Well, I mean, for the last meeting, I had pages 4 through 6 of my cut and paste job from
Yep.
Keene.
Right.
Um, And, maybe those paragraphs need to be reordered or something.
Well, I think the issue was, correct me if I'm wrong, what I recall is that everybody thought, okay, we'll take these home and
Work on it.
do a hybrid if necessary, or not. So David Robbins gave us the
Site plan.
site plan review with some modifications, and then Rich Mengy gave us the Keen stuff.
Right.
Right. I think, well, I could tell D and E.
What are you looking at?
here.
Oh, all right. We should all be looking at this. Just hold it up so everybody knows what you're working from.
If you look at the Keen cut and paste,
Yeah. that's good. You know, D and E are different from what David has. Because they're extra.
All right, I don't have that piece, so. D and E,
Whether we want them or not, I don't know.
I think we need to have the specifications so that David has an accurate measurement of the panels. So I don't think he's gonna read everything, but at least part of the specifications he needs, just so that he's got that
Right.
measurement. And
The glare.
So,
that might
okay,
be good to have.
but let me ask a question about, because at the opening statement, it says, in accordance with the submission and procedural requirements for conditional use permits set forth. We don't have that.
no, he crossed it out and said set forth below, saying that this is what you need to do.
Okay, but we're not gonna have a checklist, or this will be the checklist? How would that work?
Well, the object was to mesh these
Well,
two,
right,
but
right.
nobody did because I have an excuse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why anybody else.
All right,
did,
so let me go
I think
before,
they do mesh, except for.
well, no, they're very different. So, I mean, I think the challenge is to either go with one or the other, but if we go with it, go with one or the other or mesh them. But if we go only with this, we're gonna have to come up with a procedure.
Yeah, and I think some of the things in what David printed out are not really pertinent.
All right, so I went over that and, 10-4, do we need a traffic and
Right.
parking plan?
you know.
We might, I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, it's only really during construction where we have any change in traffic.
Okay,
And,
and
you know.
sewage, then 10-592, sewage disposal system. I don't think-
Right, we
No,
don't
no.
need that.
Okay,
Fresh, I don't know if we need freshwater supply. Water
uh,
For fire.
for
protection.
fire protection, yeah. I would think so, for fire protection. If it
Yeah.
catches on fire,
How can it
I
burn?
think
There's
you would
nothing to
ask
burn.
the fire department whether they feel that that's necessary.
It's really nothing
Okay, but
to
if-
burn.
It's,
so we would just have that in the departmental section.
yeah, I think that's, it would be up to the fire department to comment that they want a water supply, because I'm not sure how flammable these systems really are.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's
But
nothing to burn on the.
Well, if there are trees nearby and it jumps.
I don't know. So, a simplifying factor would be if we could say, you just have to submit a site plan, an application as if for a site plan review. And you can waive, certain things can be, are automatically waived, like a traffic and parking plan and a septic
Right.
plan. And other things as can be waived as necessary.
We waive stuff all the
Yeah,
time.
but that's in site plan. You don't waive stuff in zoning.
Oh, this would be, the CUP would be considered,
It's a zoning ordinance, and so you have to, you just.
right, so it's
You don't
not,
have the
the CUP
flexibility.
doesn't have its own, right.
But I'm trying not to write an entire.
I
I'm
understand.
trying
Yeah.
not to write
Exactly.
3 more pages of text into the ordinance.
I get you. That's one of the reasons why nobody sat down and typed, I'm sure, today.
That's the other reason, yes. But if
Okay,
we said you must have a site plan that addresses all the things that we already have written out, we have a nice one sentence. For a solar energy system, parking, septic, these other things are
Okay, I would say,
automatically waived.
I would say unless the planning board deems necessary parking, because it may be that for some reason you need, we might find we need parking or. we need
yeah, I
septic.
wouldn't necessarily, if we're gonna do it that way, then give whatever planning board the prerogative, there's no harm.
Yeah, but I would use it only if the planning board wants it, because I can't imagine, but it might be that we need it.
Well, it's the hot dog stand that's using all the energy coming off these
Yeah.
panels.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, it could be big
Yeah.
enough that there's a caretaker that that is there.
Well,
Yeah.
the point is, it gives the board flexibility, and there's nothing onerous involved in it.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so I can imagine somebody's got their solar farm and they have a whole herd of goats and everything's fenced and the goats go in and chomp all the stuff, so they don't have to mow it.
Mhm.
And then the goats go back to the barn, and so they need electricity, they need, water. So, you can imagine the situation, and there's a caregiver who has to flush toilet to take the other goats. I don't know.
Well, I guess, I can, the point is that we can't imagine every scenario, and just leaving that open is
Yeah,
not,
that's why I think we should have that, just a catch for some of those things, the traffic, the parking, the septic. May be required at the discretion of the planning board.
yeah,
And there's probably others, but I
yeah.
don't know what they are. yet.
Well, there are others that are unlikely. I mean, there's that,
Fuel storage and air conditioning.
yeah, exactly. And, yeah, those are the obvious ones anyway. So how do we, if we're gonna reference, we would assign, this is a question. We would say, follow the requirements of site plan review. But then how would we mesh that with what Rich Mengy gave us here?
Well, are there things, I apologize that I don't have this already correlated, but are there things in the Keene document that are not in or
You know what?
substantially different from our site plan?
That's a good question. And why don't we go through that now? We can go through it all together so that we're all not sitting at home doing this. Okay, so let's start with a detailed plan set and signed, stamped. I'm sure that's in here somewhere. I seem to recall that. Is there a detailed plan thing in here?
If you look down at, 10.5, site plan general map.
Application to the board, companies map showing the scale.
Should be at the bottom of page 1,
Yeah,
although I think the one I sent you had some extra spaces in it.
but there's a stamp, does it say stamp?
Doesn't.
I thought we had.
Well, it references, I don't feel strongly that everything that's in the Keene ordinance needs to
No.
be here. So I mean,
If it makes sense, it should. be
yeah,
there.
and we're already happy with the drawings we get from people for site plan review. So,
10.5.6, the seal of any professional or firm preparing the site plan.
Okay, so that would cover it, right?
Well, it wouldn't get you an engineered plan.
Okay.
well,
No, that's,
I mean, and do we care? I mean,
I think I care.
yeah,
really, okay.
Yeah, because
For a
you could
large
be a
system,
surveyor that did the plan and not an engineer.
right.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just, let's just circle that, the engineer. We're gonna need to reference that.
I know an architect that submits wetlands applications in the town of Hanover, and it's like, that's not appropriate at all.
Right.
So just because they're a professional in one,
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go on to one, existing site conditions and features, including but not limited to. Do we have that?
10.5.8 carries a lot of that. In 5.9.
Okay, so let's go to the site conditions and features, including but not limited to topography, surface waters, woodland areas, 100-year floodplain, steep slopes, soils, property boundaries, zoning district boundaries, existing structures and roads.
Not exactly the same. Remember that we've been content with substantially this list.
Yeah, it's just that this is a different use.
All right.
well, do we need a topographic?
I don't know.
I think we should. I mean, it's good baseline information to get a sense of the project area.
In this day and age, being able to create topography map for any lot in Lyme can be done very easily.
So,
Right, and if somebody's putting up a 10,000 or 20,000 square foot solar array, it's
They're
not-
gonna have that anyway.
they're gonna have that anyway. It's not,
So-
it's not like they're just putting up their garage and they just look, they just wanna do it on the back of an envelope.
Yeah, no, this is something, but you know, the data is out there for the LiDAR data. You can create contours off it without.
So it may be easier for us, rather than saying, oh, we don't want these things unless we require it, and we do want these additional things, and, you know, just to change the site plan regulations, to have something stamped by a licensed engineer and to add topography to this. Because all we need to do is have a public hearing to change these. We just put them in here and then talk about the exemptions in the proposed article.
so,
Yeah, I mean, it could be easier just to go at it that way.
So Vicky, you're saying make the whole site plan regulation cover.
Right, so we
Cover-
add
cover everything,
topography
and
if we
then-
don't have it in here, and then we add the New Hampshire licensed engineer thing if we don't have it in here. You know, just to get that to be the same as what we,
okay, but
you know.
do we need the licensed engineer for normal?
Yeah, but we can waive it.
Okay,
We can waive it in the site plan, but here we're requiring it,
right.
because it's conditional use permit, we don't,
Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense. It would just mean that we have to waive more stuff. You know, for a lot
when,
of the
for a
stuff.
lot, for
Yeah,
a site plan.
Which would be.
Yeah, but right now
okay,
we've
I
got
guess.
2 more things.
All right, so let me ask
not
you
that
this
many.
question. Would we be saying with these added things, if it's an SES, then we would require this, or it would just be a general thing?
It would be generally in here,
Okay.
and people who are doing a normal site plan would say, oh, I don't need a licensed engineer, there's nothing here that requires that, or I really don't need topography. They would come and get a waiver for their site plan, but.
Yeah, because every site plan review we do, we end up waiving
Yeah,
numerous.
Mhm.
So
Right,
we
right.
just might waive more.
We'll just
Right.
waive more.
okay, so
that's
far
it.
there's only 2 things, so it's
The
not that.
topography and the New Hampshire licensed engineer.
Okay, so topographic intervals are required under 10.6 already, so we can cross out topography, already, yes,
All right, so now we just
Okay.
have the engineer.
right.
Okay, so number 2, proposed site conditions including but not limited to the footprint of the SES, equipment and components, as well as any affiliated installations and structures, access points, blah, 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 blah.
So that would have to go in and then just get waived if it's not a, it's a yes.
Well, no, because we asked for proposed, I mean, we say what existing and proposed utilities. And then we have.
What number is
Okay,
that?
so if we, so 10.5.9 and existing and proposed utilities, that's what David said before.
Right.
And 10.5.8 talks about sidewalks, parking spaces, loading areas, driveways, which is what this is getting at.
But does it require anywhere in here that the footprint and of the
It's
equipment?
interesting, it says all existing and proposed buildings, but this might be a structure.
Correct.
Yeah,
It is a structure.
yeah.
But is it a utility? Because
Yeah.
electrical lines, equipment, phone, communication lines, fuel storage. Well, why don't we just put it in 10.5.9? That solar energy systems need to be shown.
So what number? 10.5.9.8?
We say electrical lines and equipment. So this would be 10.5.9.3, including solar energy systems. It's an electrical thing. So electrical lines and equipment, including,
Large.
yes.
And how about the footprint?
The,
Yeah.
Where was that, Rich?
10.593.
We definitely need, because that's at the heart of what we're doing here, is measuring the footprint.
well, then why don't we go to 10.5.8, the location, area, and dimensions of all existing and proposed buildings, structures, driveways,
Oh, so
just add it there.
add structures.
Yeah.
Should we say including SES,
No,
large SES?
no.
No? Okay, but, so what about where we do say, we do take out, we say definitively that, or we did at one point, that roof mounted is not a structure.
Right.
So is that,
Be hard to get a, I mean, a large one.
right,
On a
right,
roof.
right. Well,
Yeah,
what,
what they
what,
could.
You'd have to have
Well,
a pretty big building.
Yeah, well, okay, the school, possibly, or Green Mountain Studios.
yeah,
I mean,
or if you had,
why do we want to, why don't we, do we want to review if it's roof mounted? I don't think we want to review them, even if it's large. I don't know.
I
Maybe
don't
we
know,
do.
I don't know,
Right, I don't think, no, I think,
we don't.
you know,
I don't think.
I thought anything roof was not being reviewed.
That's what we, yeah, that's the
Right.
question, basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
So-
think we need, plus I don't think it's gonna happen. anyway.
large would need to have,
Well, like the Wagner Woodlands farm, that, I don't know whether that qualifies as large, but.
I
well,
don't
if it's
think
over
it's
20,000 square feet, it is.
No, it's over
2,000.
2.
larger than 2.
I mean,
but
I'm
less than
sorry,
20,
larger
yeah.
than 2, yeah.
Yeah, it probably is.
So that might, and I don't know, do we want to review those? Such things?
Well, we already call large, it's a ground mounted, it says in the definition for
Okay,
large.
so
it's a
that takes
ground
care of
mounted.
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
If you even think, Wagner, if it's over 2,000, does anyone really notice that it's there?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that that was the intent. I thought anything
No.
roof mounted
no,
was,
I don't, I think the intent was to exempt them.
yeah.
Okay. So do we have number 2 covered? Because let me just read it. Proposed site conditions including but not limited to the footprint of the solar energy system equipment. So we're saying that by adding structure,
yeah,
we're
Yeah.
covering that.
location and dimensions.
Where's location and dimensions?
In 10.5.8,
Right here.
location,
Okay,
area,
okay.
and dimensions.
So that would cover as well as the the footprint of the solar energy system and components, as well as any affiliated installations, structures, access points, drive access, aisles, security features, and fencing.
Well, we have driveways in here.
Okay, so what about access and drive, aisles, security features?
Well, we're gonna ask them to show us we're requiring, are we requiring fencing? We were gonna require fencing, so that should be a condition of approval,
Not higher than 8 feet.
right? Remember we were gonna. have
Yeah, I
that?
thought
Yeah.
David might have added it in here. somewhere.
Yeah, I think with his bold stuff.
Perimeter, well, it says perimeter and or security fencing shall have a maximum height. It
Right.
doesn't say it's required. And were we requiring it? At one point, I know we were. I think we went back and forth on that.
I mean, I think we want to have the ability to
Right.
require it. I think anybody who's, well, it depends on how big it is, but if it's 2,500 square feet, maybe the person would not want a fence, but if it's getting on the 20,000 square feet, I think they're gonna want to protect their investment.
So if
for
we,
the fence.
in 11.1.3, we could say perimeter and or security fencing may be required and shall have a maximum height of 8 feet.
Yeah.
Now this is just. This is going to be used, this checklist is, or this application is for all site plan review projects.
Right.
So we're adding something that is now for all projects, we're saying fencing may be required.
Well,
Yes.
that's what, yeah, I mean, that's the problem with it.
But it
Well,
can be
there's no-
waived.
I don't think there's any problem with it at all. I mean, if we're only screening or fencing storage areas, waste collection areas, satellite dishes and service areas, there's other commercial, non-residential uses that we may want to have fenced or screened.
Well, yeah, I mean, we already, as I recall, in site plan reviews in the past, we've required, I can't remember fencing, but we've certainly required screening and shielding.
Where?
Lyme in, there was screening around the dumpsters that
Right.
were required.
Yeah, well, that's a waste collection area.
Yep.
So, but I'm just talking about there are other parts of a facility that may need to be screened and not just storage areas, waste collection areas, satellite dishes and service areas.
Well, for example, I mean, if you had 20,000 square feet of solar panels, I think you could make a strong argument that that's none of those.
Yes, it is none of those.
Right.
Yeah, and I think whatever, so I would say perimeter screening and or security fencing may be required and shall have a maximum height of 6 feet,
8 feet, it says.
8
here.
feet, sorry. So
Is everybody okay with that?
perimeter screening,
Yeah.
because I
It
think there's a
may be
difference.
required.
Yep, may be required and shall have a maximum height of 8 feet.
Should we just make that apply only to solar energy systems?
No, because there might be other things that aren't really that pleasant. I mean, junkyards are supposed to be screened from public roads, but the neighbor may want to be screened.
I think we're gonna add that sentence to what's there.
Well, that's
No,
what
it's already,
David.
David already, see
David
this?
already.
Yeah.
Right,
flagged
so
that.
the proposal though is to add this. This was,
Yes,
Right.
yes,
David
yes.
added this
Right.
just now.
Yeah.
And now we're adding that extra
It was-
word.
I added that, anything in bold was from Tim's.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And by the way, under citing 11.1.4, solar energy systems shall be cited. Okay, so does that cover as well as any affiliated installation structures, access points, drive access, aisle security features and fencing? Or should I just go through them one at a
Yes.
time?
I
I think that's fine.
think it's fine. too.
Okay, so let's go to 3. The limits of any land clearing and or grading required for the installation and operation of solar system, as well as any erosion and sediment control measures to be installed during or after construction. I'm pretty sure we have stuff.
You have sediment control down near the bottom. There should be a whole,
Yeah, it's on 10.6.
10.6,
10.6.
and we have something about, that have the sediment control.
And erosion control is kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're keeping things from being.
Okay, so we're good with
becoming
that?
erosion, yes. I
Okay.
mean, Becoming sediment.
Okay, then 4, a landscape plan that includes the location of existing vegetation to be preserved, details on the location, dimensions, composition of any visual buffers on the site, and information on the proposed location, number, type, and size at planting and maturity of any replacement or proposed vegetation and ground cover on the site.
if you look at 10.512, that's the landscaping plan. You may want to add some,
There's also 11.1.12 landscaping.
Hold on, 11, oh, I see, 11.112. Which one, Rich?
It's,
Harmonious and what aesthetic development?
no, it's the 4. Article 12, just. Page numbers here.
It's the last-
So
last page.
what's the leading,
It's the last
underline?
page, it looks like it's the last page, next to it. 11.1.12, yeah, that's the one right there.
Oh, I see.
I think that's
No, I'm
what
looking at-
Dave Robbins added.
Yeah,
Oh, I see,
yes.
Dave added
Yeah.
that, yes.
so I'm sorry, that should have been a 13, not a 12.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I was gonna say. that.
Okay, so landscaping, if landscaping is used to provide a
Oh.
visual buffer, that's the one. It shall provide year-round, but this says if landscaping, so,
Again, I took it directly from Tim's, so.
right,
Yeah.
so we would need to change that wording.
It's a landscaping may be.
The limits
required.
and- Well, we can just look, it says a landscape plan that shall be required. And shall be required and shall,
We already have it on, 10.5.12 landscaping plan.
so do we
It's
need,
already there.
landscaping plan including buffering plans along adjacent properties and public access. Plan to include consideration of surrounding.
That's fine. And then the landscaping standards are 11.1.13, which have landscaping needs to do this.
Okay, so then the wording, existing wording is good.
Yeah. I
Fantastic.
think we're good.
Well done, David. Okay, then we go on to 4B. Elevation drawings drawn to scale. I can't imagine that. I recall that.
Yeah,
Well, Ray gave us elevation plans for his project.
Yeah, but here they're being required. Standards and requirements.
No, under 10.7, there's building layout plans, and that talks about the second sentence, the shape, size, dimensions, elevation, and location of existing and proposed
Yeah.
structures on the property.
Good job.
Yeah.
Elevation is in there.
Okay,
It's just
And
proposed
elevations
structures,
of all
not just
proposed.
buildings.
okay, good.
So are we gonna get into an issue? Are these structures? The ground mounted?
Yes, they are.
Do we say anywhere that these are considered structures?
I don't think we do. I mean,
It'd
it's
be
not in the
very-
definitions.
It would be very easy to,
Prove that they're structures.
well, if you look at the paragraph on structures
Right.
in the definitions, you could very easily add solar energy systems.
That's a
and
good idea.
Yeah, it's a little clear.
It would just,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's certainly, to me, reading the definition of structures, I
Well,
would
why-
not exclude them.
We wouldn't need to add anything. A structure is anything constructed or erected with a fixed
Yeah,
location
yeah.
on, above, or below the
Yeah,
ground.
that's clearly.
Self-evident,
that's-
right?
Is that, to me, it's very clear that that
That's
is
what
a
it said.
structure.
Roof mounted is not a structure.
Well, yeah, but it includes, but it's not limited to a building, a recreational vehicle, manufactured housing, septic system, well, storage tank, swimming pool, billboard, satellite antenna with 3-foot diameter or more, dock, tennis court, and like structures.
I think that's fine.
But I can't, I mean, it's pretty clear that a solar panel that's, you know,
Yeah, I mean, if it
has
has
any significant
So-
size, it's gonna be a structure.
Here's a question. And it can be asked either way. Is there any reason to add it? Or is there any reason not to add it? I mean, it just makes it absolutely crystal clear if we add it.
I agree.
I mean, you could, in that section where it says, you know, structure includes but is not limited to
Right, just add-
Add-
Solar energy system.
solar energy systems and.
Yeah, I think it's good to make it more clear.
Why not?
Now, the last sentence in the definition of structure says for flood management purposes, structure also means any walled and roof buildings. What are our thoughts about locating solar panels within a flood area?
Well, they would have to,
They would have to meet the floodplain standards.
right,
Which would pretty much mean they would have to be flood proofed. Meaning you would have to raise them, you know, they have to be anchored well. Certified by the engineer.
welcome to the show. Welcome to Slaggers.
Um, And I would definitely have to make a call into the state to talk to the people who manage the flood.
Well, it's displacement. So the post would be displacing part of the,
Yeah. Which is why I would have to call the state and say, how do you want me to deal with such things?
no, they don't
Because-
go in the floodplain. There's conduit. You're not supposed to have any kind of underground utilities in the floodplain either. So,
I think you would find that it's not, just not acceptable.
well,
Really?
if you read the flood stuff, it wouldn't be allowed.
So can we can, that's my takeaway is that's not something we need to address. It's already addressed by the floodplain.
I believe it's addressed by the floodplain ordinance.
Because anybody who wants to do something in the floodplain ordinance has to go through the process of getting approval. And things are like septic systems go into the floodplain if there's no other place to put them.
Yeah, but they have to be done, there's, again, more standards.
If they're done that way.
Yeah.
So if somebody could demonstrate that they want to put up their solar systems, but they don't have any place on their property except the floodplain, then they would go to the zoning board for either for a variance or.
Well, I would first look at, again, I would have to call the state, talk to them. They have a floodplain manager because I don't deal with the floodplains very often. And so I would want them to give me what the state's going to require and what FEMA is going to require. I can't answer that without talking to them right now.
They're gonna know the answer. So you call them up.
Oh, no, they'll put it off and try to contact FEMA and put it up the
Well,
chain.
but somebody knows the answer. I want to put up 10,000 square feet of solar panels in the floodplain.
Right. It's-
And I'm gonna drill them into the ground and I'm gonna have the bottom of the panel above the flood elevation.
Yeah,
No, you still have the concrete that's set in and the post, and that's displacement.
and the conduit, but the displacement's like trees, so that's not.
I mean, they could
Well, no, it's
do,
it's very different than trees. I mean, trees are actually act as part of that system.
No.
This is an inert,
But if they're just drilling these things into the ground, I mean, they could probably with a dump truck provide, take out dump trucks worth of dirt and provide compensatory storage.
okay, so the
Uh,
question
so-
for us, do we
Right.
want
So-
to say you can't put it in the floodplain?
I don't know, I think you should perhaps.
You should what?
I think it might be an allowable use.
Yeah, so we don't,
If the panels themselves are not gonna
right,
float away during a,
I mean, we,
No, but that's the problem, is that if they get knocked over and then
Mhm.
start floating away, then they're a hazard and
Yeah,
they
this
wreck
is true.
people's property. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
you
So-
keep
You
stuff
have
out
a
of the
log come down
right,
along with the flood,
Mhm.
and it starts,
yeah.
it hits broadside to all your
sure.
supports, you're gonna start having, that's,
Yeah. So, I mean, there are people that think about this stuff a lot, and presumably it's FEMA kinds of people. But they know the answer to this, and so if they say it's okay, I just assume not make changes to our ordinance based on maybe possibly perhaps that's a
yeah,
problem.
that's my question.
Just
Do we need to deal with it? It's
tell you
just-
what, on the 26th, I'm meeting with the floodplain director of FEMA out of Boston,
Cool. Mhm.
and I can ask him the question.
Okay, good.
But David, it's impossible now to build a house.
No,
You just don't get insurance. maybe.
well, no, there are certain, it has to be flood proof. And as you say, if it's,
You mean raised up.
right, there's a certain amount of basically water that builds up behind an immovable object.
Yeah.
So you have to, as flood proofing, you have to make it so that can move through without causing water to back up behind it. So there are ways of doing it. It just has to meet those criteria.
Interesting.
And they may be uneconomical, in which case people don't do it, but.
If you look down on Maple Lane, to Maple Lane, you'll notice that the backside of the house has basically panels in it that pop out, that if water gets up too high, it pops them in. The basement floods,
Mhm.
the house is built up, so it's above the floodplain.
Oh.
And then, yep, right, just where the bridge is.
Is that the red, with the red?
Yep.
The
That
red
white
highlights?
Little cottage that they just boosted up.
Yep.
Yeah,
So it has to be above the floodplain. The structure has to
Right, it has to be a foot above the what's called the base flood elevation, which is what FEMA has determined is the 100-year flood elevation.
which is now the 10-year flood.
That's a
1-year
different
flood.
problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think, I think we should move on.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
think,
So in any case, David, you can get some clarity for us.
Yeah, I can talk to them
Okay,
on,
and then we can
26th.
finalize that at the next meeting. Okay, so are we done with 4? I thought,
Drainage report, I mean, oh, yes, the landscaping, we've done, I think we got to elevation.
elevation, yeah, we have those in there, right?
yeah,
Drainage report, didn't we already
I
address
think
that?
there's some, yes.
Okay.
Yep, there's drainage and erosion.
Manufacturer's specifications for all proposed equipment.
that we definitely is,
So we
I
put that
require
in.
that for any
Yeah.
solar
So
installation.
is that in here anywhere?
No.
Okay, so let's add that. Where would that go?
Why don't we just put it in the zoning ordinance? That's a requirement. We only bother
Okay,
people who are
Mhm.
getting solar energy systems rather than
Mhm.
having to bother other people about it.
okay, so where would that go in our?
In 14.40, it could be C.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll just add it
Hold on.
right in there.
14.40,
Yep. Factor specification
I'm just trying to find this.
for all proposed. Okay, so now we have a C.
Okay, 14.4C, and what does it say?
Same thing that.
Oh, okay.
It says the key.
Manufacturers. And that's 4D key. Okay. All right, and then E, a statement detailing potential significant glare of the budding structures and roadways, estimating the interactions, blah, 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 blah,
I
blah.
think we have to put that in there because we do have exterior lighting standards, but it's for exterior lighting. It's not for shiny things or things that might be shining certain times of the day. So I think we need to have.
So
that.
where would that go?
It would go 14.40 D.
Okay. D would be keen for E. Okay,
Seems like if some solar panel was creating glare for an adjacent structure, it's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Pointing at the sky.
It also shouldn't be reflecting light. It should be absorbing it.
Yeah,
yeah,
Right.
I agree.
well, I mean, it's tipped this way.
I don't see how it could,
The physics don't work that way.
no,
Yeah.
angle of incidence equals angle of effect.
So do we want to do that?
Well.
It seems like
They do
most of
glare.
the zone, the solar things
Have that?
have something about
Yeah,
glare.
I noticed that too. All right, well, there's no harm.
You know, the other towns, I don't,
I mean, we're asking for a statement,
Yeah,
so they say.
they can say
You're
it's not
crazy,
gonna be a
that's not
problem.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
Right,
okay.
I mean, they probably will say you're crazy.
And you also do have, you know, the framing around the panels that could cause,
Mhm.
you know, if it's, you know, aluminum,
stainless steel, yeah.
stainless steel, there could be,
I don't think this is a harmful.
right, well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, you may get some glare from other than just the
Right,
panels.
right. I don't think it's
No, it just.
not much of an issue, but it's not gonna hurt.
Well, I think it's some people's issue, the neighbors.
Well, that,
And
that has come up a lot
Yes,
in meetings,
yes.
is about the glare, so.
Yep.
it
If you
will
put
have-
it in, and
It'll be reassuring.
Yep.
Estimates of any equipment noise on the site based on, don't we, I think we have that, don't we? Because I remember that from the Lyme in. Or maybe we didn't have it and that was a problem.
No, I wanted for their HVAC and the
Right.
fan hood to have noise readings for that because it was right near where people walk.
Well, that's, I mean, that's a potential problem for people if they live near there or they're walking near there.
Yeah.
So what do we want to say? You just want to add this to,
What equipment noise would we expect?
I don't know.
Well, I have a telephone box across the street from my house and it hums. So, I mean, what would you get from a telephone, you know?
Or they pretty much
Communications,
any
so
kind of,
anything
transformer
has
has-
humming and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So do we want to have anything in there?
I think you should.
Okay,
yeah, I think,
Okay.
you know,
so add it to E. E is noise.
I'm assuming that you're going to have some sort of transformer
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
some point in time. I don't know what the panels, you know, you'll have the inverters that create your AC voltage. And then if you're stepping it up to a line voltage, you're gonna have transformers on site to do that. And it maybe it's be a pole mounted one, such as you see out at the regular road, but it could be a large one sitting on a pedestal or a pad. And it could,
And I think we just asked for an estimate of the noise.
Right.
I don't.
Okay, so, and then there's this condition of approval. The planning board may impose conditions on a solar energy system conditional use permit to the extent the board concludes such conditions are necessary to minimize any adverse effect of the proposed use on adjoining properties and to preserve the intent of the zoning standards.
Umbrella.
That's like a catch-all.
I would
Do we-
put that on in the zoning.
Do we want that?
I think you
would.
do.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so this
It's,
would go,
yeah.
and where would this go?
it would go-
1440.
It'll cover anything we forgot.
Okay, 1440. And this would be F.
Seems like it's a good last one, whenever we get to a last one.
Okay,
But we might put something else in there.
You mean its own section or,
No, it's.
The last item in the
Last
Last
item.
item in that section.
okay. Conditions of approval key. All right. So, all we have, the only added notes I have is add the SES to structures, and David's gonna check out the floodplain thing. And then we get to the, to the second page of this thing. Good God. All right,
We've covered a lot of these.
yeah, so we may not need to do all this. So review criteria. In addition to the site development standard or site, let's say site plan review standards and article blah, blah, blah. The planning board shall consider the following criteria when deciding whether to grant the
Okay,
large.
so we're not gonna do anything about parcel size.
Right,
Solar footprint, ground mounted, not.
So in terms of the parcel size, the limitations on the solar size is based on the impervious area allowed or the development area allowed for that particular lot. That's how,
Yeah, it's a percentage of the size of the lot.
Yeah, well, that's the lot coverage is a percentage of the lot up to 26,000 square feet.
Right.
So your 20,000 square feet, you know, if you have a maximum size lot, then you'll be able to do 25,000 or 20,000 square feet of solar panels. If you have a lot that's a lot smaller, then the dimensional controls won't allow you to
Right.
put it. So it's,
okay.
you're not going to be able to take a small lot that, or let's say a lot that's 25,000 square feet
For 20,000.
and put 20,000 square feet of solar
Right.
panels on it.
You're gonna need 23 acres of buildable lot to get 2%.
So it feels to me like we ought to have
12%.
some mention of
lot
that
coverage
in
number is.
our,
what's that, what's that? David?
You're, I believe the way that you said this is that you're allowed up to 2,000 or 20,000 square feet of footprint.
Right.
So you would be looking at the total lot coverage of the lot, having over the 20,000 square feet available.
Right.
So that you're allowing the footprint to be what's normally considered the maximum footprint. You're saying, all right, for solar, we allow a greater amount of
Oh, really?
footprint.
So
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my understanding.
But you're limiting the total
Can't be over the
20,000.
20,000.
Wait,
Right,
wait, Dave, so you can have 20,000 of panels, but the actual footprint would be a lot bigger because you've got space between, right?
No, the footprint is, you only have defined it as the panels.
Okay, okay, so
So you
the
have
actual
20,
coverage would be, could be more, so, yeah.
well, no, the lot coverage would be what.
the lot coverage would be less.
Your lot coverage does not include space between
Right, right.
panels. So your area that you clear, your development area, which is not in the zoning, which is not touched by the zoning, could be
Big-
greater.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It could be greater, yeah. So what you actually see could be much bigger than 20,000 square feet.
Right.
But as far as lot coverage,
So-
that's not counted.
Right. So the only thing that's counted is structures. And
My understanding of this was we were exempting this, basically saying you may not be allowed this lot coverage for other things, but for this large solar energy system, you are. Or is that, or am I misunderstanding that?
well, again, maybe I'm misunderstanding. My thought was that you still needed to meet the underlying dimensional controls for, again, I'm going to look at, two different
Oh, I see.
numbers.
No, I see. I'm mixing it up with the smaller systems.
Yep.
Where
Lot
you-
coverage is the aggregate of all your buildings.
Yeah.
So you're saying you can have 20,000 square feet of footprint for
Yeah,
solar panels.
Panel size.
But your lot needs to be big enough
right,
to handle that lot coverage.
Right.
Yeah.
Two different numbers.
Right, and they're tied together with rural district, that's 2%.
And,
Am I
I
right?
think it's 6% or 12%. I'd have to.
Oh, okay.
It feels to me like we should have something about, we should address that in this Article 14.
Address what?
12%.
it means a limit,
Yeah, how this is being considered, so, because we're confused
yeah,
ourselves right
Yeah.
now.
yeah. I
It's
just
only
really
gonna get more
confused myself.
confusing afterwards,
Yeah,
Yeah.
one way to look at
like
it.
the first time an applicant
is
comes
how
in.
big would, if you put a fence around it, how big would that fence area? be? And that would
Well,
be your,
but that's not what we said.
right, that's not what we
That
said.
is not what we said.
Right,
I'm just saying.
So, yeah,
That's
so,
what-
so we're having two conflicting thoughts here. One thought was, we don't want to address that. And then the other thought is, well, we do want to address it.
Well, no, I think the question is, and I'm waiting for David to say, if you, the numbers I did, if the lot coverage, the maximum lot coverage you can have is 2% in the rural district.
Maximum footprint is 2%.
Right. Okay, so that's just the panel size.
Maximum footprint is 2%. The lot coverage is,
12%.
How are they calculated separately? For the ignorant?
A footprint is a building footprint.
Yep.
So you have a house
Yep.
and a separate garage.
Yep.
Each building has a footprint.
Yep.
The aggregate of those footprints
Yep.
makes your lot coverage. So you add the house and the garage together, the footprints, and that's your lot coverage.
Right. Any building, yeah.
Well, wait a minute,
But so
But
the
in per-
footprint,
in-
the aggregate footprint is the same thing.
that would
as
be the same
lot
thing, but it's
coverage.
also, isn't it also impermeable?
Well, the footprint, some of it does count some of the impermeable
Yeah,
surfaces.
so that would be a distinction between footprint and lot coverage. It'd be footprint plus impermeable surfaces.
Well, you'd have a footprint of an impermeable surface.
So is there any distinction between the two?
I don't see one at all.
So then why are we,
How does a paved driveway count?
It
depends on where.
It depends on where. If it's in the rural district, it doesn't count. If it's in the Lyme Common or Lyme Center, it does.
So why are you not agreeing about 2% versus 12%?
I don't know. Because
I'm
if it's
looking
just-
at table 510, and under rural district, maximum building footprint is 2% and maximum lot coverage is 12%. There is no argument of,
But but
so I was mistaken.
the footprint, the aggregate footprint and the aggregate is
Oh.
the same thing as the lot coverage.
I,
So how is the footprint of being 2% there?
so let's say you have a
You mean
house.
only one house, that's a single unit could be no more than 2%?
Right, so let's say you have a house that's 13,000 square feet and a garage that's 13,000 square feet. Together they make 26,000, which is the absolute maximum lot coverage. So you're allowed as many buildings that do not exceed 2% as you can put
So
on the
that's
lot.
the key, that's the key.
That's
is
the
that
key.
Each
Right.
individual can
Yeah,
only be 2%.
right.
Yes,
Right.
so,
That's the missing piece.
All right, so let's.
and just so that everyone knows this, it's based on a 5-acre lot.
so I'm
And this was
calculating,
originally figured out as
Oh, you
26,000
mean
square
that
feet is
a supposed-
basically just a little under
Okay.
12% of a 5-acre lot.
But let's go back to what we were trying to do.
Right.
So, Rich Mengy, you were concerned that we weren't having a limit.
well, I'm just concerned that I think we should define how. Yeah, we should define what the limit is, because, I mean, 2% on a 5-acre lot is 4,356 square feet. So you can't build you can't build 20,000 square foot.
But that's where I
panel.
thought we were exempt,
That's
We
was
were
my
just
understanding too, that you're
exempting
saying that,
and that's where I was getting confused.
Oh.
We're exempting these large
Right.
solar energy systems from
The
the
footprint,
footprint.
but you still have to meet the lot,
Okay.
and I think that,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is we should actually spell that out here.
Okay.
because then, that way you're not going to, if you exempt them, if you exempt it from both, then you can have a very small lot that is completely covered with solar panels, so
Okay,
you
no,
want
we
to.
obviously need to say that.
So if you have multiple panels that go to the 20,000, is each panel a footprint?
Each panel has a footprint.
But it's cumulative footprint. And
Right.
it's defined as
So
cumulative.
no one panel is likely to be larger than the maximum allowed footprint on a parcel,
2%.
the 2%. But, and so you can have bunches of them.
So you could put six,
You can put
six
or
2% panels.
2%, yes, right.
As
Well, I
long
think
as it
that's-
didn't exceed, and correct me if I'm wrong, the lot coverage.
Well, that's where I think you need to be,
We need to
to
spell
clarify
that
this,
out.
that because again, under the large, it only speaks to the footprint. And so if you had a 20,000 square foot lot,
So,
you, under this D, you would be allowed 20,000 square feet of,
so where is that?
Don't we have setbacks?
okay, so you have a 25,000 square foot.
That doesn't- So, all right, where in the, in our new article, do we address the 20,000 square feet?
I think it's
Too
go
many
in,
pieces of paper.
um,
We address it in the definitions,
Yes.
right? Large energy solar system, solar energy that is ground mounted with a cumulative footprint larger than 2,000 square feet, but less than 20, the system may be composed of one or more set panels and must conform with lot coverage requirements.
Footprint requirement.
No, we already defined
coverage, oh, I
the
see.
footprint.
I see.
Would that make sense, David?
yes,
Okay, and must conform,
So this is
B,
B.
and must conform with lot coverage requirements. Requirements or regulations or what?
requirements.
Isn't that true of small solar energy systems as well? That it needs to conform to the,
Yes, it does, because if you're,
Okay, so we'll add it there as well.
because if you have a ground mounted system,
it's got to conform.
On a third of an acre.
So in B, shouldn't we put solar energy systems must conform with lot coverage requirements and may not be larger than 20,000 square feet, something like that? Just in terms of, it's just in terms of,
So say it again,
just putting the lot coverage.
just say it again.
Solar energy systems must conform with lot coverage requirements and may.
Well, wait a
be
second,
no
because what it
larger
says is,
than
are we
20,000
talking
square
about
feet.
B?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so look, a
Oh,
solar
oh.
energy system that
Oh,
is
okay.
ground mounted with a cumulative footprint larger than 2,000 square feet, but less than 20,000 square feet must what?
I'm not in the definition section. I was down in another section. I was in the conditional use section, B.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm just saying that it's a requirement for the conditional use, right? So I thought solar energy systems must, this is BB.
Okay,
Solar energy systems
I
must
don't, you gotta slow down. 'cause
You should not. Okay,
Okay, so we're not adding it to B.
not to that B, but add it to 14.40 B.
Okay, now I gotta.
Yeah, I
find it.
agree with you. It takes it out of the
Yeah, you
definitions and
shouldn't
into
have
the,
regulations in
Right, yeah.
definitions.
Yeah.
So 1440 B,
Yep,
can I just interject?
yes, you
Yeah.
may.
Um,
Oh,
I would personally love to see it in 514 and 515, where you have building footprint and maximum lot coverage. Because you have your special exception or exceptions for senior housing added in there.
okay, so that's an additional change, right?
okay, so let's put it in B.
Five
What's
fourteen?
the language, 14.4 B?
solar energy systems must conform with lot coverage requirements, and systems larger than 20,000 square feet are not allowed.
Okay, so you're gonna send that to David.
Yes, I've got it in here, and I'll send the whole thing to David. And then you want to have 5.41, this is an additional change, right?
Yes.
Okay, so amend section 5.41. And what,
4.1 or 5.14?
5.14.
sorry, 5.14.
And it doesn't really,
5.1,
I would love to see that changed to structure footprint, but that's,
5.1,
or
so
just put, change to footprint.
just say footprint, okay.
So if you, I
So
would-
just amend the title.
and either add it under D.
Footprint.
Yeah.
And D,
You can say, senior housing article 13, semicolon, solar energy systems.
okay.
And then the same thing for 515 E. Although you're not really changing the,
So do you want that in 5.15, David?
well, that's probably a quick discussion on that. The reason I'm thinking that yes is because you're well, you're saying only less than 2,000, or you're saying a maximum of 2,000. So maybe not.
All right, so
I want to make sure that basically that you're reading through this and you say, oh, but there is nothing in the solar energy systems that contradicts the maximum lot coverage. Other than where you've added it to say it doesn't. That the section that you just added in the conditional use.
which
but-
is,
Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah.
So
We're all confused.
you're basically allowed the percentage which is based on the district, but rural district, you're allowed 12%.
Yes.
So either it's going to, your system can be a maximum of 12%
Mhm.
or up to 26,000 square feet of lot coverage, but you're limiting it to 20,000.
Right,
So you're not contradicting 515 in any way.
so
But
that's,
I want to make sure that it doesn't seem like you're saying, no matter the size of your lot, you're allowed 20,000 square feet.
Right. And so
well,
I
maybe we
think we're okay.
maybe we should just say that.
Well, I was looking back at the definition at the beginning, and it says, very first line says solar energy system, a feature of a structure that relies on sunshine, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we should just call it a structure that relies on. That puts it in the very second word of the definition, that this is a structure. And then later on, it says roof mounted are not.
Wait a second, let's- so
So-
show me where you are.
So we're going all the way back to the
Okay.
very first definition, solar energy system. Instead of saying it's a feature of a structure that relies on sunshine, just say it is a structure that relies on sunshine.
Okay,
that
so,
makes it
so
clearly-
we've kept on, we keep on taking, remember it was a feature of a blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
right.
So why did we have the feature in there to begin
I
with?
don't know. I mean,
Well, then maybe there was a
well,
reason.
because it was kind of like a roof mounted is sort of a feature of the structure, and
So I just want to make sure when we take things out,
We don't undo what
yeah,
we did.
because we did things
Okay.
on purpose. So let's go through the logic.
well,
I think
so
it was the roof.
I think part of it was the roof
Yeah.
mounted, and then we've now sprung that out into its own definition, and it says it is not a separate structure.
Okay,
And so I think we're safe.
so if we just, so correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, so what you're saying is if we just define it as a structure, then that
It
wording.
automatically-
Was that your interpretation too?
Yeah, that,
Would that do it for you?
I think so.
Well, let's not think, let's.
Yeah, I'm just. Without
I'm-
seeing and reading it again in its entirety to. I just wanted to be clear that you don't get
Right.
20,000 square feet no matter
We
the
want
lot.
to be clear about that. Right. So would that do it?
I think it makes it completely clear as far as the language is concerned. There's still the customer relations piece that,
Well, yeah, I
David
mean, I
has to
want,
deal
I
with.
want David's opinion
Well-
of it in terms of, how he's gonna deal with it.
I mean, I'm going to deal with it. I know the intent, and the
Right.
intent is that not. If somebody disagrees with me, they go to the zoning board.
Mhm.
And then the
Yeah,
zoning
so,
board
but
makes a
we want to
ruling.
write this so that that doesn't happen.
but I think,
And your successor doesn't have problems.
yeah.
Right, and then
Well,
if they don't like what the zoning board says, then they go to court. And
Yeah.
so somebody could argue,
Good language is what avoids
Yes.
these things.
And I think to say, if the second word in the definition is it is a structure, then you
Then
point
you go
to
right to structure.
the structure, then you point to,
So, okay, David, let's just go through so it's a structure. So where do you go? And let's just go through the process now so that we're absolutely clear.
the
let me
definition.
just, I want to. Yes, I'm good with that, because if you look at the definition of lot coverage, the area of a lot occupied by structures and improvements.
Okay. So that just makes it absolutely clear.
Yeah, so it says, you're saying you've limited the amount of panels and the cumulative of to 20,000 square feet. But it also is a structure. You've said it is a structure. And the lot coverage, area of lot occupied by a structure. So your maximum of 20,000, or your maximum you can get is 26,000 square feet. So it makes sense that your solar panels have to meet that, because they're structures, they have to meet the
Right,
dimensional
but
control.
they can't get the 26,000 square.
They
feet.
can't, you're still limiting them to,
So Rich Brown's idea of taking out a feature of and we just have a structure, you like that?
yes,
Okay, thank you, Rich.
Could I make an addition that to the definition of structure, since we're talking about things as small as billboards and satellite antennas, that we include solar panels?
Yeah,
in
I
there?
thought we already
Yeah, I
decided,
think we did.
we said,
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
don't think.
I think we
yeah.
didn't.
I
I
think we okay
No,
now.
it's like, then we have to start putting everything.
Yeah,
I
So-
thought,
No,
I
we
thought
did.
we did.
We did, we
I
did.
wrote down add SES to structures, as structures to definition.
Yeah, no, we did.
We did.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Does everyone agree
I'm
on
okay not
Well,
doing that.
not
yeah.
everyone, obviously.
I'm with Rich.
Because a structure, anything constructed or erected with a fixed location on, above, or below the ground. I mean,
So-
that to me is clear,
That's-
that it's,
It's really
So
clear.
is there any bad reason to add it? I mean, is there any
Yes.
downside to adding it?
yes,
Okay.
Yes,
more
it's good.
words is a problem. And
Because it's, I mean, to me, clarity is a good thing.
I agree. I don't think there's any way to misconstrue a solar panel as anything except something constructed or erected above the ground. And that this is,
So
This
let me,
is
but
gonna
let me
get
ask
too
you
long.
specifically, what is the downside of adding SES?
because people will get this ballot that's gonna be 4 or 5 or worse
So it's
pages
gonna
long,
be,
and say, I don't know what this is, why? And I don't think, I mean, if it made a difference, we should absolutely say it.
so you're thinking of it from like a political point of view in terms of getting this passed. That'll be something that'll put people off because it'll be an extra thing to read. I mean, I understand that.
Right. Um,
Just adding that in that, I have to agree with
Yeah.
Rich on this,
Yeah.
because now you're gonna have to add that entire paragraph on the ballot.
And we're gonna have to add the 514.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And so the,
Well, we did that actually, I mean, with the senior housing
Mhm.
article, we had like pages of those things. in the past.
I just don't think it really is gonna change anything.
Okay, I
Because to me, the structured definition is very straightforward,
Okay.
It's
I'm
built on the
willing-
ground, it's a structure.
I can go either way on this. I think both of the clarity thing I like, but also the practicality thing also. So
Yeah,
the rest of,
I've had, so I disagree. I mean, this definition of structure, it goes in to say what's not a structure, an animal shelter under 15 square foot, a stone wall,
mhm.
a
Good point.
mailbox.
Good
I
point.
mean.
you're moving
it's-
me back to the, to the definition.
And it's telling us that, billboards and swimming pools and storage tanks and septic systems are structures.
Right, well, septic tank is underground, or septic system's underground.
Mhm.
Those are well.
Right.
Swimming pool in ground.
An RV used as a dwelling unit. I mean, we're talking about something that can be as big as half an acre. And we're not, and we're trying to avoid calling it a structure in the
It
definitions.
says it
that-
includes but not limited to, and I just don't
Yeah.
think we need to list every little thing.
Well, this isn't little. This is
Yeah, this
well, it's
is.
enormous.
This is
right.
hundreds of
Okay,
thousands of
so-
dollars
so,
of capital.
Let's take a vote. Who would like to have it not in the,
Not in the definition.
I mean,
I don't
I,
think
you don't want it in the
No, I
definition?
think-
Okay, then that's it. It's not going to get some
Because I think
majority.
David's right. I mean, it's clear. Anybody comes in, they're not gonna argue with it. I mean, you're just gonna say.
Okay,
this is
so
it.
it's not-
it's a structure.
It's decided.
And even if they want to question my determination of that and go to the zoning board's gonna look at this.
Right.
And if they don't like the zoning board and go to court, I don't see a judge looking at this and saying any different.
Right.
It's clear, and I can understand wanting to put it in there to be absolutely clear, but
Yeah, I mean, if we put it in, it might eliminate somebody asking you about it, but so what? They're gonna ask. you.
Well, we've kind of taken care of that, I guess, then by saying a solar energy system is a structure.
Is
in
a
the
structure. That was the
definition.
intent. That's
So-
why this
Okay.
Rich was.
I guess I can,
That was to get
I
around.
can feel
that.
better about it. I
Okay.
can go home and sleep tonight.
Okay, all right.
You've won me over.
All right, good. So where in the world are we now? Did we cover
So we're at citing.
citing?
Talk about
God.
lot size.
All right, what time do we want to end tonight? Let's just keep it
9
at
o'clock.
9 o'clock. Okay,
I need 2 minutes at the end of the meeting.
okay. That's scary.
No, it's not.
Okay,
8:50.
all
Well,
right,
it could be scary. We'll see what happens.
all right, large, so we're on citing. God, that was just the review criteria we did?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, okay. Large scale ground
We're
mounted,
almost there.
the 5 acre thing, oh, that's how this whole thing came up.
And we've settled
We've-
that.
we've-
It's a
all right.
structure, we know it.
Okay.
Lot coverage rules.
And is B an issue? The 20
No,
contiguous
no.
acres? Okay,
No,
and we have a height thing.
Yep.
Setbacks, we have that, don't we?
Well, David proposed
Yeah, David put it in there somewhere.
wording for setbacks. 50 feet, I think.
Okay, let's read the language.
where is it?
Just-
Sure.
I
it's
have
right
so
here,
many
I know it.
copies of this.
If
Oh,
you
there
look
it is under 11.1.2.
2.
Yes.
1, 1, 2.
Oh, yeah, hidden right there in front of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay, just, but we need language.
This
So,
is
but we don't
talking
want to
about-
put, we don't want to put a 50-foot setback as a general requirement.
No,
So how do we do that?
it's a condition of approval for the large system.
So where do we put it and how do we,
14.4,
Oh.
and I think we're up to F.
14.4? Well, hold
We're up
on.
to-
No, we're past that.
G, we're up to G.
Because, but we're gonna,
Oh,
Leave-
actually, the overall,
the F was the key condition of approval.
yeah, so we'll make that G and.
No,
make
the
F.
condition of approval is the last one that we
Right.
get to.
Right,
Right,
so
that'll
that's
be
what we're
G,
saying. So that'll
G.
be moved to G.
Right,
And
but
then
it may
F will
not
be
be G,
the-
it
Okay.
could be Z. at the
Okay,
right
let's just
zone.
leave that. We won't give it a letter, but the
Right.
F is,
Is this new one.
which is, what's the language we want to use? Solar energy systems are,
Minimum, we can just use King's language.
what do they say?
Minimum setback distance of 50 feet from all exterior property lines and existing public rights of way shall be required.
Okay. Right. All right, so that covers setbacks. Okay, then lot coverage. And David has a thing in here that says 70%, but it should be a zoning issue somewhere.
Right, this was
Which page
These
is
were-
that?
part of the conditional use, and I just, that's a requirement, not a,
So is that another one for 14.4?
I don't think so. It's follows the same lot coverage rules as everybody else. Does anything else?
The 70%?
again, that was something that was discussed,
So this, everybody's 11.1.7 is what we're looking at.
Yep.
And David put in the dimensions shall conform to the table in 5.1, then not to exceed 70% of the lot.
that was, again, that was part of what Tim
Right,
had wrote.
Right, and
so,
that was something we said we wanted.
So then you're gonna need to put that in the zoning ordinance.
14.4 with another letter. No,
But
Why do we need to do that?
Well,
We
that's-
already.
I thought we had, you had, basically, if you allow it to have the same dimensional controls as any other structure,
right, you're at 12%.
right, you're at 12%.
but
And,
we're saying it can be 70%.
well, do you want, is that what you really want? 70% of an acre lot covered by,
That'd get you most of the way to 20%. That's 20,000 square feet.
yep. So I think,
Just leave it.
I would not include the 70%
Okay,
language because we've
okay.
already got
So we
Yeah,
have,
that
we have,
12%.
okay. Is
you're,
everybody okay with that?
Yes,
Yes,
I think you have a stricter,
Okay. Got it. All right, next.
Visual buffer, we have something about perimeters, landscape buffer. This is 11.1.2.
I got so many pieces of paper here. I'm bonkers.
You got mine.
I got yours, which I'm writing all over.
It says, the one, it says.
No, we're looking at, we're looking for the.
Yeah,
stuff.
there it is, there it is,
Okay.
right there, you got it.
What is
Right
it, what
here,
is this doing on top? This thing out of here.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
what you-
Okay,
so-
lot coverage. So we're, all right, we don't care about that. Should be cited in a manner to reasonably minimize the view. Didn't we already address that?
Well, I think the site plan review talks about perimeter or landscape buffer shall be provided to assure the development conforms.
So we already have that covered, don't we?
I think we have.
Well, except this is cited. I mean, it doesn't really talk about
Yeah,
landscaping, it talks
I
about
mean-
cited.
I also put in a citing in the 11 section.
11.1
Oh, yeah,
Four,
you did,
yeah.
didn't you?
11.14. You have,
Yeah, I got
I
it.
don't remember, but I know I added.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
you did.
it's at
It's
the bottom
11.
of that page, 11.1.4.
And then it moves on to the second page,
Yeah.
the page after that.
11.1.4.
Yeah, there, the bold at the top of that page.
Oh, solar energy systems shall be cited and managed. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, so that's,
isn't that,
yeah, that covers.
anybody uncomfortable with that?
No.
Okay,
And even though that's specific to solar energy systems, so even if you have a site plan that has no solar, then
it's moot.
it's moot.
Yeah. Okay. The visual impact of medium scale and large scale ground mounted solar systems associated with any extension. Preservation of existing, I think we have something on that in the site plan review.
Yes.
Which one?
Site
Screening.
characteristics,
Yeah,
perhaps?
yeah,
11.1.1.
Yep, the
11.1.
natural cover should be retained to supplement required landscaping to the extent possible and reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good with everybody?
Yep.
See, if landscaping is used as a provide a visual buffer, it shall provide year-round screening of the ground-mounted solar energy system. And
That
so,
should be in the landscaping
Yeah,
added by Tim. 11.1.13, I have 12 when I wrote it, but
Yeah,
it's
right, that's
13.
it, yeah.
Provide year-round screening of the system and associated equipment.
Yeah, good.
Be comprised of native species and be maintained for the full term of the system. The full term of the system is located on site.
so that's all in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Covered.
and do we want that to be part of our site plan regs or is this specific to solar?
Well, we already have something in there.
Yeah, we must have something in the site plan.
I think we already,
Yeah, we do.
yeah, so this is a general thing.
Okay.
I think. Unless somebody disagrees.
You already have perimeter screening and or security fencing may be required and shall have a maximum height of 8 feet.
And we could add this to that section.
Well, and all these things are in David's very end thing, right?
Well, is it? Are they?
I think that's where he got them.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that-
is.
Yeah.
Well, I got it from-
11.1.13.
I took them straight from
From
Tim's.
Tim's, and Tim got
Right,
them from
right,
here.
right, yeah.
So is that language good?
Yeah, I mean, he's got it right here.
Provide year-round screening
Yeah.
of the system. Associated equipment.
Both native plants.
Okay, but we're really mixing and matching here. Because this refers to to a system
Mhm,
and associated equipment.
mhm.
Do we want that as a general thing?
No,
What
no,
is a
it's-
system?
I would just say you provide year-round screening, period.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
And then
and then be composed of native plant species
Mhm.
and be maintained for the full term of the system.
That's kind of funky for just for every project. I mean, using the word of system. but-
Yeah.
No, we just crossed it out. in
We
first.
crossed out system.
Oh, okay.
Be maintained for the full term that the ground mounted,
No, that.
be maintained
This is in general, so be maintained.
for the full term of,
you just say be.
Be maintained as the visual buffer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say what you're maintaining, you just say you're going to maintain it, period. You know,
be maintained for the life of the.
Project,
yes,
As a gas station? I mean,
yeah,
that's
You mean if,
I mean, if this is going in the site plan
Right, right.
regulations, it's
Yeah.
for a gas station or
right,
or whatever, and so
so,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want to
if-
be able to, if you,
so-
be maintained for life. I mean,
yeah, so,
Okay.
you know, like,
if you just say be maintained for the life of the project. You're then saying, you know, as long as it's there, you need to maintain.
right,
right.
right.
And if a tree dies and it needs to be
You need to-
replaced.
So just to address your concern,
I mean, I'm not, I don't have any
oh,
concerns.
okay, okay,
I
Well,
was
it's
just
just like-
thinking,
Remember Morty Bailey with, we had to have him put the screening up? The next person who, you know, the screening's really tiny and
Mhm,
actually
right.
isn't really that effective yet, I would say.
well, let's.
But anyway,
yeah,
that should
Right,
play, you know.
right.
yeah.
Okay,
so, what do we want that to say now? Be maintained?
for the life of the
the
project,
For the life of the project, that's fine.
okay,
Or for the life of the party,
life of the project,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
right?
That would be more fun.
Yeah, okay.
Environmental clearing of existing trees and vegetation shall be limited to what is
We have
necessary.
that in the first.
Yeah, we have
that.
in the character.
B, the design of ground mounted solar energy systems shall include sufficient distance, which at a minimum shall be the width of a single solar collector panel between blah, 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 blah. To allow for capture of rainfall and growth of vegetation.
So that's the spacing between the panels that
Yeah.
we're trying to regulate.
Yeah, well, that's what it says.
Why do we want to do that?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do that.
So you don't want to require any minimum spacing
I mean,
I don't.
the,
with everybody else? Then?
So I mean, that it provides better absorption of rainwater and stuff like that
Right.
if you do have some space.
Yeah.
I think, who's the energy person that came in?
Nils,
No, nurse?
No,
Jim
no.
Nurse?
Mark
no.
Bollinger.
Oh,
Mark
Mark
Bollinger was kind of warning us to be careful of
Right,
of
right, what he did,
making something so that they're all just,
right,
Right.
right.
there's
Then you
no
might not
space
have
in between them.
vegetation beneath them. Put them right.
Yeah, you
tight,
won't.
wouldn't have anything to do.
Well, that's what he was warning against.
Yeah,
well, although you're not gonna have them cheek by jowl, because if you do, this one's gonna shade the bottom of this one.
Yeah,
So you
they
have to have
shouldn't
them
be,
spread out.
they shouldn't be, but this,
Well, I mean, a qualified designer is gonna have the right space in between. And, I mean, the other thing is that this is, how do I say this? You've got a solar panel that's this big, it's tipped like this,
Right.
but it's this wide.
Right.
All the water that comes off it, I mean, it's a 6-foot
right,
span. It's gonna fall right at the edge.
right at the drip
But
line.
it's gonna be, have the ability to flow out essentially where it is. It's not like a concrete driveway or asphalt driveway that concentrates all the water and shoots it down like a funnel. I mean, it's, yes, all the water that
So
falls
why
in
was,
this,
why was Mark concerned about it?
I don't know. But
Because I recall also he was.
yeah.
I think I did hear. you say that.
Because, I mean, there is some possibility that, you know, people could lay their panels fairly
I
flat.
think that's what he was saying.
Yeah,
I think Rich is right, the water's still gonna run off.
Right. I mean, and my
Somewhere
guess,
it's gonna run off, yeah.
right, but I mean,
think he
it's,
was concerned about, like, how you define a footprint.
right.
So it'll make you want to cram them all together. But the way you define a footprint, it's the drip edge of the individual panels, so that problem won't
Maybe
arise.
I
that's
think
it.
you're right. that it
Yeah,
was-
I think-
You were at the discussion
that's
of, are you including the development area as the
Yeah.
footprint?
Very good. Thank you. That rings a bell for me too.
So
So,
it does make it impossible to, pretty much impossible to keep vegetation underneath there, so
If they put them close.
if they put them close
Even if the
together.
water runs, because you'll.
Which is why you require a drainage plan.
Yeah.
Right.
To,
so the drainage plan would give us,
you know, basically,
so, okay, with the drainage, say we don't like how the water's gonna run here, so we could say, because of a drainage plan, we'd like there to be more space between it.
Can I also say something, a little bit from knowledge of
Sure.
installation of solar panels? Any you're not gonna put them too close together because you gotta be able to maintain them. So you're gonna be able to walk between
Right,
them.
right.
So you're gonna have at least have three feet between the panels.
It's probably,
minimum,
yeah.
In order for a decent sized man to get through, and if you wanna be able to get equipment through, it's gonna
Right.
be more.
Okay, well, that's reassuring, and that combined with that we have the drainage
Mhm.
thing would give us at least, if there was, for some unforeseen reason, would give us a way to address it. Right, does that
I
make
think so,
sense?
yeah.
I think through drainage, yeah.
Yeah,
we have-
okay.
Yeah, because
Is that okay with you, Vicky? All right, so we'll just skip that.
Yep.
Noise and glare, we already, all right, well, the
We
solar
talked
energy,
about noise and,
We already put that in.
we already did
Yeah.
that. Glare and
Yep.
And noise.
inverters shall be fully enclosed.
Why?
I don't know.
Noise,
So we're already addressing noise.
Yeah.
Right, if they don't make noise, why do we care?
no, they do make noise.
they do make noise.
Okay, so we've already said, estimates of any equipment noise on a site based on
Yeah.
equipment specification materials.
Right. Right.
And if it's too noisy, we ask them to.
So
enclose
do
it.
we have the right to ask them if we don't put it in there?
Doesn't sound like you have any redress.
We don't have any what?
Redress
Yeah.
suggested, I mean,
Right. that's
how,
what-
how noisy is too noisy? And what are you gonna have me do about it?
I know, I remember with the Lyme in, there was a noise thing.
Yep.
And the determination about what was acceptable was pretty arcane. I really don't know. I can't remember how
Yeah.
that was
I
resolved.
mean, it's a really hard
It
measurement
was
problem.
there was somebody came up with a decibel limit.
Well, other towns have decibel limits at the property line, measured at the property line.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the number was.
So is it, you can't hear it at the property line or?
No.
And no, it
It does allow
can't be
noise.
above a certain decibel level at the property line.
Right.
You can have the noise, but not above a certain level. So, okay, so what do people want to do about the fully enclosed inverters? Who cares?
Well, if they fully enclose them and they're still noisy, it's not gonna help
Not gonna
me.
help. right?
So what we want is, for trying to get at noise, is that we need to establish standards. And we shouldn't just put it on solar energy systems, it should be standards for
And
every.
generators and,
Right, and and I will say that what's really noticeable when you pass by that big fan is the smell.
which big fan?
The exhaust fan at for Lyme End.
Oh,
When you're walking in Dorchester Road.
sure. Well, I mean, they're cooking food.
I understand, but it goes right out into the public right of way. It doesn't go into their
All right,
gardens.
but we can,
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, that's not what you do.
so do we want, yeah. it's
Well, it
delicious. It smells
depends.
good.
I don't
If you're
eat meat.
hungry, it smells
know.
good.
It brings
Um,
people in.
All right, so what do we want to do about this?
So we already talked about noise and glare, and I don't think we need to say anything about enclosing the
I think that
inverters.
if we're gonna adopt a noise standard, that we should need to put it in our site plan regulations and make it apply to every
All right, but do
non-residential.
we want to do
project.
that here and now?
We would not, well,
I was thinking of why they did it, because I don't think they did it for noise. I think there might be another reason.
Why, who did it?
He,
I have no idea.
that's what I mean, I don't know.
It's under their noise and glare.
Yeah, it's under
Yeah,
noise.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
wouldn't, oh, it's under their noise,
Yeah, and it's a shall be. So
I
they,
think we should put a noise standard in our site plan regulations, because I don't think we should treat solar energy systems any different than a gas
so
station or something else. We
how,
need
how
to-
would we address that?
We need to put a standard in here.
Does Hanover have a standard?
They do.
I would like to also, if you're gonna put a standard in, if you can also make it that the applicant has to prove the standard, not that way I'm not having to go out and buy expensive equipment to check the noise, make it.
Yeah, we've had, like, for the indoor practice facility, we had a huge study, like thousands of dollars, where a guy came and got the background noise at night, and, when the neighborhood's quiet, and then if you turn on the HVAC and how much more noise, so that was a
Okay.
study.
So could you bring us or send us Hanover's noise?
Yeah, I can I can just put it at the end of this.
Okay.
Because I can find it online.
Okay.
But those are standards actually that they have in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, but we don't.
We don't, and I don't know. I don't know if we really want to put it in the zoning ordinance.
I think it's more
for-
appropriate for site plan
Yeah,
review.
I think that that's a better
But
place.
we
for
can
it,
all, we can look at the language next time and see if we want it. Okay, so security, perimeter and security fences to have a maximum height of 8. We already have that, right? And on-site lighting shall be minimized and installed for security and safety requirements only. I think we have that, don't we?
We don't need to have on-site lighting. People don't.
No,
need
but in the
more
lighting section, we have, if you,
There's a lot of
Yes, yeah.
exterior lighting.
then it should not be above such a, don't we have that?
Right.
I don't think we've.
Flashing animated zone.
I saw it somewhere. I just somebody,
No, we have.
Solar
it in there.
Yes, it's under
Whole lighting
11.1.6.
Yeah. that's
yeah,
right. The whole-
exterior
The
lighting,
whole page.
yeah. And David added from Tim's thing, on-site lighting shall be installed for security and safety requirements only.
Well, that would be not necessarily for this, that,
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense for
the entire site plan.
right, the entire site plan.
This was, so,
Do we want? I guess I don't quite know what the incentive to have lighting on the,
Well, the incentive
Lighting
would be
there.
for security and safety.
right,
The only thing I would think you would want to have, if you had a building that housed your inverters, then I think you would, want to have an exterior light. So if someone
sure.
was trying to access at night because of a failure.
But we already have all this language here. I don't think we need, so I guess I'm saying that I don't think we need to call out the purpose of the lighting. If somebody wants to have lighting on it, it almost certainly would be security and safety reasons, and we already addressed what that would look like.
All right, what does everybody think about that?
I think I agree. I mean, I certainly don't want to suggest that they should be putting lighting in.
Okay,
Or have an applicant be able to say, well, it says
Right.
security or safety, and so therefore
right.
you have to give it to me.
Tim,
yeah, I agree.
Vicky?
Can you run that by me again? I'm going to-
All right, I'm sorry.
Just say what we're
Yeah,
doing.
So we're
So-
talking about that what we have in 11.1.6 under general exterior lighting requirements for site plan review.
Yep.
On-site lighting shall be installed for security and safety requirements only. So far, everybody says they don't think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, it's unanimous. So take that out. And
Have a solar panel, with a fire, a big light at it, so it works at night.
okay, so that was, okay, we got that. Utility interconnection. Oh my God, this is endless.
Well, then we get into decommissioning.
Then we get into.
Okay, so
That's
let's,
easy.
all on-site power and communications line within the solar footprint of the ground-mounted solar energy cells shall be buried underground unless the owner operator. Do we don't have that, or do we?
I think that's important.
Yeah, that is important.
Can we put that under 14.4 though, rather than in site
Maybe.
plan?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yes.
They will demonstrate.
Does that make sense, Vicky?
Yes.
Okay, so that will be, if I can find that section anymore.
So this is G. So what is it?
It's this thing here.
Okay, yep, okay, the interconnect, yep, got it.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
All right, and then we have the decommissioning and site restoration. It's 9 o'clock. What is the board's pleasure?
We're just,
Well, we can
we're
just do
just
that
throwing
quick,
stuff
right?
at it. I don't think we're thinking about it.
So shall we stop or do you want to continue?
You guys go. You guys can go on.
All right, so let's stop here.
Can I just throw out two things?
Yeah.
Just for thought. One, if you're changing the site plan regulations, I would like the board to add in hours of construction or hours you're allowed to. There are some state laws that I can reference.
If you give us language.
Yeah, and the only reason is twice Mr. Clark's project has started at 5 AM.
But neighbors are not happy. about it.
Neighbors are not happy. I don't blame them. And, you
Yeah.
know, he has an excavator banging away at rocks
Yeah,
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
okay, so that's one.
And this is one that has come up recently in town for solar, and it's RF interference. And the reason I bring this up is, as you know, that they recently did a fundraising to put solar on the fire station,
Yeah,
and they can't.
you're kidding.
And what's our?
Radio frequency, because the inverters interfere with
Oh, my God.
the radio tower.
On the building?
Nobody thought of that?
At the time, no one thought about it until,
So it's just a no-go?
at the moment, very
There's gotta be a
questionable.
workaround.
There's
on
no
that.
shields for
Well, it's they're trying to figure out what can be done.
Because they raise more money than they needed. They can use that extra money to do,
Yeah, and it's a matter of trying to figure out what it is that causes that interference. And, you know, it also is frequency dependent.
okay, so what would you like us to?
A statement of RF interference from the manufacturer or from.
Okay, so could you give us?
Yeah, I
both of
can, I
those
will.
things?
So let me take a contrarian view there. Obviously, it might be good for David to say to the applicant, listen, make sure that you've got RF interference taken care of. It's not clear to me that, I mean, suppose somebody brought in a cut sheet that said, yep, our RF interference is minus 117 decibels, blah, blah, blah. We'd say, we don't know. We're not qualified to judge it. I mean, it's a shame it happened to the town and that we're having to spend time figuring it out. It's not obvious that it's a zoning.
Yeah,
So,
very well could be, you know, and when you look at FCC regulations, if you create
yeah.
RF interference, you are responsible for fixing it. But the problem is getting that enforced by the FCC, proving that it's a particular source, you know, especially if you're not allowed on site with a spectrum analyzer and
Okay,
or don't have a
So
spectrum
give us the
analyzer.
language and we're all fried now.
Yeah, I'll work with
Okay.
Aaron
Okay,
on that. I think it's mainly, I think for town emergency services, you know, there's a statement that says it won't affect.
that's fine. Just give us the language and we can think about it when we're not all fried.
So
Um,
has Vicky been, have you
Vicky's been
been
working
following
like
these
crazy.
things that we're adding to the document that David prepared that we're,
No,
No.
I'm not typing that, sorry, I'm just working on the solar energy systems draft. I
Okay.
took notes, but.
Yeah, I took
I'm not-
notes
I'm
too.
not typing
Okay,
it.
so I have notes, but they are probably not as good as yours.
Okay.
So could you both send your notes to David because it's good to have.
Yeah.
and actually I would ask you, David, to send us a Word document. I'll turn track changes on.
But you should have Tim's Word document.
Well, also, the site plan document. the site plan
Right, that's
review.
the one that I sent out.
Oh, yes,
You should have that already.
okay. If
You
I
sent it
can't
out last
find it,
week.
I will send you a note.
Okay,
What's that, Vicky?
You sent it out last, or
Yep.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
so I can resend it if you need.
Yeah,
it.
if you don't have it, just ask.
And the one last thing that I have, the state right now is reviewing the floodplain ordinance. And they may come back and say it's insufficient and want some revisions.
But the floodplain ordinance is a state or
No,
federal?
it's towns,
Oh, it's the towns.
yes.
And,
All right,
and
so,
ours is not good enough for the state.
Don't know that yet.
Okay.
We're waiting to hear. So basically, there is a floodplain or flood insurance program that residents are allowed to participate in. It gives you flood insurance at a much less rate, but the town has to have a floodplain ordinance. That's the whole reason the town has that floodplain ordinance, is so that anybody who's in that floodplain can get the flood insurance. In order to keep that flood insurance, and town has to participate in this program. And so it's reviewed periodically. I'm going through an audit this month on it. And so what the state is doing is they're saying they're going to look at our floodplain ordinance, and if they feel it is lacking, they will come back and say, we would like to see X, Y, and Z changed. And then they would ask the planning board to propose that at town.
Yeah,
Meeting.
sure. I mean, we're not gonna say no.
Right, I'm more forewarning you
Yeah,
that you may at beginning of October see a document from the state, and I'll bring it to you, because it'll come through me, saying in addition to any other zoning changes, they would like to see the floodplain ordinance
sure.
updated.
Not a problem.
They'll give us an outline. of-
They'll give us
Yeah,
language.
they'll give you language, and
So that's
so it shouldn't be. I don't think that they're going to change much, because ours is very comprehensive, and it's
Whatever.
basically what they wrote.
Yeah,
So
whatever,
it's not-
whatever, you know, whatever they say they need, we'll do, because why wouldn't we?
Right, so,
We have to.
yeah, otherwise you're not allowed to get flood insurance through FEMA anymore.
All right,
That's a bummer.
thanks, everybody,
Great.
for a long night. Thank you, Hebe.
Yeah.
So what's the
You're gonna
wire
keep my-
interference that's
What's
behind
that?
by the post
You can
office?
keep my thing.
No idea.
Yeah, is that okay with
No, that's
you?
fine. just
I have
don't
not.
I can-
Wait a minute, wait,